So, when you picture a millionaire, what comes to mind? Is it the private jets, the luxury yachts, maybe red carpet events? Pop culture has definitely given us a certain image, hasn't it? Often very flashy. But what if that whole picture is, well, mostly wrong? What if you're actually more likely to find them living, right next door? Today, we're going to take a deep dive into sources inspired by that classic book, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. And we'll also look at articles exploring its key lessons, the real financial habits of wealthy Americans.
Yeah, and these sources are interesting because they're not just based on assumptions or stereotypes. They're built on actual surveys, lots of data collected over decades, looking at who really builds wealth in America and, maybe more importantly, how they do it. And honestly, the findings often fly directly in the face of that popular image we all have.
Right. So, our mission today is to unpack these insights, maybe bust a few myths along the way, and uncover the surprising, often quite ordinary habits of these everyday millionaires. We want to see what specific lessons you can maybe apply to build your own financial security. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, one of the first things that jumps out, right, is that contrast between who we think is a millionaire and who the research shows they actually are. We imagine these super high-flying jobs, maybe big inheritances, constant luxury spending. But the sources, they reveal a huge percentage are actually self-made. And they work in jobs that sound, well, pretty normal.
Like what?
Teachers, engineers, people running small businesses, even mechanics, really everyday professions.
That really does challenge the idea that you have to be, I don't know, a tech billionaire or a Wall Street CEO to become wealthy. It seems like the sources really emphasize it's less about the size of your paycheck, especially early on, and much more about what you do with the money you earn over time.
Exactly. It boils down to it's not how much you make, but how much you keep and how wisely you invest it.
Yeah, keeping it seems key.
And that leads us straight into maybe the most counterintuitive habit they found, frugality. Or just, living below your means.
Yeah.
And this isn't about being cheap just for the sake of it. It's about very conscious, very intentional spending.
I found that part fascinating. The sources give real examples, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of leasing a brand new luxury car every couple of years, the data showed many millionaires just drive reliable, maybe used cars for like a decade or even longer.
Or buying generic brands when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just prioritizing value over the label, over prestige.
And they actively fight against that whole lifestyle creep thing.
Oh, it's that exactly.
Where as soon as you get a raise, your spending just automatically inflates to match it. They seem to consciously avoid that.
Right. And the why behind this is so important. The sources make it clear. This isn't about depriving yourself. It's strategic. By keeping spending under control, avoiding unnecessary stuff, they free up a significant amount of money. They're basically prioritizing building actual net worth, your assets minus your liabilities, over just conspicuous consumption.
Spending to look rich.
Exactly. Spending just to signal status. And this habit, this frugality, provides the fuel, really, for the next big step.
Which is putting that saved money to work. Disciplined saving and investing. Sounds simple, but the sources really stress that this is where consistency just really pays off.
Absolutely. And it often starts with just understanding where your money's actually going. The sources talk a lot about budgeting, tracking spending, maybe using a guideline like the 50-30-20 rule.
How does that work again?
Roughly, it's like 50% of your income for needs housing, food, transport. Then 30% for wants, entertainment, hobbies, dining out. And then crucially, that last 20% is earmarked specifically for savings and paying down debt.
Okay, that makes sense. And one of the best ways to actually do that saving part seems to be automation. That classic advice, pay yourself first. It's just way easier if you set up automatic transfers.
Right out of your checking account into savings or investments right when you get paid.
Yeah, before you even miss it. And the sources definitely highlight taking full advantage of retirement plans, especially if there's an employer match. That's basically free money.
Absolutely free money. And this consistent saving, often automated, it feeds right into the power of compounding interest.
Ah, yes, the magic of compounding.
Kind of. It's where your money starts making money all by itself. You earn returns, and then those returns start earning their own returns. It snowballs.
And the investing part doesn't have to be super complicated, right?
Not at all, according to these sources. Disciplined investing often involves really simple, broad approaches, things like low-cost index funds or ETFs.
Which are just ways to own tiny bits of lots of different companies.
Exactly. You're basically tracking the overall market, diversifying easily. You're not trying to pick the next big winning stock or time the market swings. The key takeaway seems to be consistency over a long period, letting that compounding effect really work.
Which requires patience.
A lot of patience.
Yeah.
And a long-term view, ignoring all that day-to-day market noise and scary headlines. Resisting impulsive decisions.
Okay, so we've got living below your means, being frugal intentionally,
Right.
discipline, consistent saving and investing, often automated.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of underpinning all of that is a really fundamental mindset shift, isn't it? Prioritizing financial independence over just showing off.
That's maybe the biggest break from the pop culture image, a huge one. The sources found that while the person spending lavishly might look rich, the actual millionaire next door is way more focused on accumulating assets, reducing debt.
Not just buying stuff to impress the neighbors.
Precisely. They resist that huge societal pressure, that keeping up with the Joneses thing.
So instead of chasing the latest car or designer clothes, their goal is building that net worth, achieving real financial freedom.
Yeah, the security and, frankly, the peace of mind that comes when your money starts working for you, instead of you always working just to buy more things.
The sources seem to frame true wealth more as security and freedom, not just, a pile of possessions.
Well said. And keeping these habits going, year after year, decade after decade, that takes certain personal qualities. The sources talk about continuous learning and persistence.
That makes sense. It's not like a one-and-done thing. The research suggests these millionaires are often lifelong learners, especially about things like personal finance, investing, maybe their own businesses or careers.
Yeah, keeping up with changes in tax laws, understanding different investment options. It's an ongoing thing.
Right, it's not static.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that learning helps fuel the persistence you need. Because building wealth, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
For sure.
You have to stick to your plan, even when the market tanks temporarily or when life throws you a curveball, like an unexpected expense.
Yeah.
There was an interesting point in one source about how folks who maybe didn't get constant financial bailouts, like from parents, for example, they often developed more discipline, more self-reliance. It kind of reinforced the value of earning your own way, being persistent through challenges.
Learning to stick with it.
Yeah, and learning to tune out that distracting market noise and just stay focused on their long-term strategy.
Okay, so those are the big four habits. But the sources also mentioned a few other related things that help build wealth, didn't they?
They did. Things like consistently trying to maximize your earning potential.
How so?
Well, it could be through smart career choices, maybe developing a more entrepreneurial mindset, spotting opportunities, finding ways to generate extra income. It's not just about working harder necessarily, but maybe working smarter, aligning your skills with what the market actually needs.
Gotcha. And there was also mention of things like taking care of your assets, like maintaining your house to keep its value up.
Yep, that was in there. And even something as basic as looking after your personal health.
How does that fit in?
Well, good health can mean significantly lower costs over the long run. Fewer medical bills, potentially working longer if you choose to. It's an investment in itself.
That's a good point. And seeking value in purchases came up again, too.
Yeah, reinforcing that frugality idea.
Yeah.
But also distinguishing between needs and wants. Maybe prioritizing experiences sometimes over just buying more stuff.
And a really big one, avoiding bad debt, especially high interest debt like credit cards.
Oh, absolutely crucial. The sources are really clear. That kind of debt is a major liability. It just eats away at your savings, hinders your growth.
So paying off high interest debt is a top priority.
Definitely. They distinguish it from potentially good debt, like maybe a reasonable mortgage on your home, but consumer debt is seen as a major obstacle.
Right. Understanding that debt is money you owe, it's not money you have, it's fundamental to actually building that net worth.
Exactly. Subtracts from your assets.
Okay, so we've dug into these sources, unpacked these habits. What does this all really mean for you listening right now?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the path to becoming that millionaire next door, achieving real financial security, real independence, it's probably far more attainable than you might think, and it's much less tied to luck or having some super glamorous, high-paying job right out of the gate.
The sources really seem to offer a clear kind of actionable blueprint, don't they? Start by just figuring out where your money is going, track it, make a budget, make saving and investing automatic so it just happens.
Yeah, take the decision-making out of it each month.
Commit to learning continuously about personal finance. Just keep educating yourself.
Right.
Shift your focus away from what you earn, maybe, or what you buy to impress people, and focus instead on consistently growing your net worth, your assets minus liabilities.
And maybe the most important part, embrace patience and persistence. This takes time.
Yeah, it's a long game.
And these aren't some hidden secrets of the super rich, right? These are disciplined habits. They're accessible to pretty much anyone, regardless of what your starting income is. According to all this research, these simple, consistent choices, just applied over time. That's the foundation. That's how everyday wealth is actually built.
So becoming the millionaire next door, it doesn't sound like it's about winning the lottery or having that perfect high-flying job from day one. It seems overwhelmingly about just adopting and then sticking to a set of disciplined, sometimes, yeah, maybe pretty mundane financial habits.
It really is. It's about prioritizing that financial freedom and security over just appearances, making conscious choices about spending, and understanding that true wealth is often built quietly. It's accumulated steadily, not loudly displayed for everyone to see.
So thinking about everything we've unpacked today, based on this research into the actual habits of millionaires, here's a final thought for you to consider. What's one assumption you held about wealth or about wealthy people that maybe you're now willing to challenge in your own life? What might you approach differently, maybe even starting today?